Be bold. Be heard. Welcome to Unmute Your Mic with your host, Jessica Bell. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Unmute Your Mic.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unmute Your Mic. My name is Jessica Bell. I am your host from Kansas City, Missouri, and today is a very special episode. This is our 1-year anniversary episode, and it is still so hard for me to believe that Unmute Your Mic has been around for a full year. I have so many feelings of just like gratitude and so much emotions because this has really turned from just a hobby or something I wanted to try to something that is truly like a baby of mine. It is something that I'm very just proud of and passionate about. And so I just want to start first and foremost by thanking every single person who has supported Unmute Your Mic. Thank you for every subscriber, every follower, everybody who has gone to the website or purchased merch or had their hand in a part of supporting Unmute Your Mic. I just want to thank you. And then obviously there would be no Unmute Your Mic if I did not have any guests. And so I have been truly honored to have 42 guests this season, 42 different people who came onto Unmute Your Mic and shared their story, whether we were talking about a specific topic or a specific part of their story, or they were just, we were just having a conversation. And so I truly, truly appreciate people allowing my platform to be the space for them to be transparent and share their stories. So thank you, everybody, for supporting Unmute Your Mic for 1 year. I'm so excited for what is going to come. And as I've shared many times before, Unmute Your Mic was truly a God project for me. And what I mean by that is that this was something that God had placed on my heart to create a platform and a place for people to talk about the things that we don't easily talk about, whether it be domestic violence or mental health or our faith or struggling with addiction, or even the lighter side of things, or we're talking about relationships or plant-based diets or whatever it is. I just wanted to create a safe space for stories to be told and for people to be impacted and inspired by those stories that are being told. And so that is why I'm so passionate about this, because I realized that I could get on here every week and share things that I've gone through, but it's so much more impactful when we hear from different people, when we see the people that are in our everyday lives get to share that part of their story. And so that is my heart behind Unmute Your Mic, and that is what it will continue to be moving forward. And I just want to thank you all for coming along this crazy ride with me. I was doing a little bit of reflecting and looking back on all the past episodes, from the very first episode to the last episode that we had last week, and really just seeing the growth and seeing the hand that seeing God's hand on every episode and how every guest was supposed to be on this show. And so for this episode, what I wanted to do was just do a little flashback, kind of show you some of my the most impactful moments to me, pay homage to the people who have decided to share their stories on this platform. And so I cannot start out this show without first and foremost thanking God for bringing the people onto this platform. And so I love that I don't quote unquote market myself as a Christian podcaster, because I love to hear everybody's stories. But the truth of the matter is, obviously, if you've been watching this platform, you know that I am a Christian. And so I think it's been beautiful how God has even brought some non-believers my way, but also people who are believers who have struggled and been able to talk about the things that they've gone through. And so my very first episode on Unmute Your Mic was with Zelena Thomas, and she was talking about going through her health issues and how God had really came in, transformed her life, and she was sharing her story. And so I want you all to take a look at that clip now. for sure. What do you think are maybe one or two or three things that were the most impactful things in your life? So I know you've had a lot, and your story is still continuing, and God is still using everything you've gone through. But as far as who you are today, what are a couple of things that you think kind of really shaped you and let you know, like, okay, this is my story. I'm going to live it. I'm going to do the best I can with what God's given me?
One of the things that solidifies this life here for me is that even though I'm 34 years old, I still go to a children's hospital. I've had the same cardiologist my whole life. I apologize if my cat gets in on this video. He's trying to be close because it's storming in Pittsburgh and he's scared. There he is. Um, uh, and my cardiologist, all his patients who started with me, all of them have passed away except me. So I'm his oldest patient. Um, and that lets me know, and that solidifies that I have purpose and that I'm meant to be here. Just, I always say my hope is built. Like, it's not doesn't need to be validated on anybody or anything. Like, my hope is built, and I serve a God who predestined me to this point. So I definitely know that he will predestine me to eternity. That's what keeps me.
And so, what do you think? What do you think lets you, or what is it that makes you have such a positive attitude? Because I know people who have gone through far less than you, who walk around and maybe they feel defeated, or they feel like it's just like the end of the world. And so, what is it that makes you have such a positive attitude to say, like, look, I've gone through these things, but my head's gonna stay up. I'm gonna still keep smiling and be hopeful. What do you think that is?
One thing that keeps me positive is that when I had my second open heart surgery, the doctors told my grandparents that I wasn't going to live past 10. So every day I look at every day as a challenge. So I'm excited. It's kind of like a game, like the most dangerous game. So it's like, let me see what I can do to change it. Let me see how I can do what I can do to be impactful. Let me see what I can do to make sure that this day counts. Like every moment counts. And, not to sound cheesy or anything, but every breath matters.
So I think the reason that Zelena was so impactful to me was, one, she was somebody who I had never even met. And so I had posted the flyer on Facebook about wanting to create this platform. And she was the very first person to message me and say, hey, I would love to share my story. And that really gave me a boost of encouragement, because it allowed me to see that people who I didn't even know were willing to share on this platform, that people want to share their stories because they want other people to know that they too can make it through a lot of the things that a lot of us struggle with and go through, that we are not so easily or excited about sharing with other people. Sometimes it's hard to really share our struggles. And so I think that was what was so beautiful about her story, was that she was very excited and open and willing to share things that some of us may never experience in our life, but that we can be inspired to keep pushing forward. And so, some of the other episodes that I really want to highlight were some of my most viewed episodes. I think this is so fun because every time we're doing an episode, I have no idea what's going to make it be quote unquote more popular or not. And even when I'm reaching out to people, like I've stated, it's just kind of like some people come to me, I come to them, and it really is a God thing for me. I'm not don't want to over spiritualize things, but it really is for somebody being on my heart or me wanting to reach out to somebody. And so I was not surprised when I looked back and saw that these were my most viewed and my most downloaded episodes. So I have Keke Blackmon. She was one of my most viewed, and I loved her story. I had J Mac, which was my cousin, and he talked about rebuilding his life after being incarcerated. I have Tyler, who is still the only minor I have had on my episode, and she was talking about rebuilding her business. Building a business during the pandemic, being a young child, and really having that hustle and drive, and being inspired by Nipsey Hussle, which I thought was amazing. And then the last one was Dionne, and Dionne was one of my most impactful episodes for me. I titled hers "Against All Odds" because of all of the things that she had gone through. She is also a podcaster. She has become a friend of mine. It has been a true joy. So please, please, please check out the clips from these next 4 episodes. That's amazing. Yeah, your story is absolutely amazing. We could probably keep talking for another hour because I know that there's so much, but I do want you to give you a moment to specifically be able to speak to somebody who might be in the same position as you. So whether it's somebody who's dealing with church hurt, or they're just kind of lost and they don't know where to go, or maybe they want to know God, but they feel like they haven't seen a good representation of him, maybe in a church or in the world. If you could just take 2 minutes to just speak directly to that person, because I know that there's someone who is going to be watching this that is going to absolutely relate to your story. So if you can take a couple of minutes, I'm just going to let you have the floor and go ahead.
I'm just a young girl from Arkansas that didn't know nothing about nothing. But I do know that I believed in myself, and I started my journey with 1 step. And that step became 2. And then that 2 became 3. And I declared and decreed over my life that I was going to be somebody, I was going to go somewhere, and I was going to make a difference. And you can do the same thing. Talk to yourself more than you listen. I'm going to say it again. Talk to yourself more than you listen to yourself, because you can hear all kinds of things in your head, but you tell yourself, Keke, you are somebody. You are great. You are fabulous. You're a phenomenal woman. No matter what nobody says, you will make it. You will get on that right vehicle, and you will make it to your destination. And with God's help guiding you, you don't even have to do nothing. You don't even have to stir your own way. Just let go and let God direct your path, because he's the best tour guide ever. He guided me to this happy place because I was in that dark place, just like you may be right now. But the first part of getting to that light is you stepping into that light. Get up, get out, make a difference. You're not alone. You're never alone. You always have that person in your corner, and that little ear. Just listen, okay? Just listen to it. Don't falter off. Don't go anywhere else. Stay right there, because help is on the way. I promise you. Don't ever give up, because giving up is just not an option. Point blank. Period.
It's inspiring because I talk to a lot of people who have similar stories, and they choose to use their story as an excuse, and you don't. And so that is extremely inspiring to me. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you.
Something else I wanted to ask you. So you got the music, the nonprofit organization. So in your personal life, what do you do to stay sane and grounded just in this world today, being a Black man, all the things that have been going on as far as like Black Lives Matter and that kind of thing? What do you do to kind of stay sane and stay safe?
Well, as far as the Black Lives Matter movement, man, I've been looking at that stuff, man. Even before I got out watching CNN, man, it gets so crazy because I'm glad some light is getting shed on this, because it's something that we've been going through forever, man. We get profiled everywhere we go, you know what I mean? And it ain't just Blacks, the Mexicans, any other race, you know what I mean? And not only that, not to be on nothing crazy, but in the neighborhoods we living in, a white person come in our neighborhood, we looking at them crazy off the jump too, you know what I mean? And really, this is 2020. Shouldn't be no racism going on at all, but it's still been right here in our face forever. You know what I mean? So, as far as me just staying afloat, man, I got my sister. You know what I mean? My niece, my nephew, my grandmother, my uncle. You know what I mean? My uncle Cheddar Bob. Everybody really just keeping me afloat, man, keeping me positive, you know what I mean? Let me know they watch my music and telling me they proud of me and stuff like that. So that just be keeping me afloat out here, man. You know, I got my right hand, man, my boy Dank Nitty, man, my business partner, man, my manager, man, he been keeping me lit, man, with our clothing line, Hustler, No Reggie, man. We just been pushing that. And with the clothing line, it's probably about to get real popular, you know, getting real popular. So, you know, and Hustler, man, we got the trap snacks going. So I just be staying busy, man, just trying to keep everything going on, keep everything afloat. And so that's all I'll be trying to be focused on is being busy, man, because work, make the dream work.
Yeah. And I think that is the best thing too. Like you said, you're staying busy, but I love the fact that you said you are bringing people around you and including them too. Because I
Yeah.
think that's really big, especially in Kansas City. We have so much talent, but we don't always have people who are willing to reach back and say, "Hey, I'm making it. I'm doing this. Come along the ride with me," right? But like you said earlier, it's got to be people who you know have a similar mindset. So have you found it easy? Has it been kind of easy or difficult to surround yourself with people who have that same mindset that you have now?
I mean, it could say it's difficult because not a lot of people have the drive that I have and be motivated like I do. You know what I mean? I wake up happy. You know what I mean? I go to sleep happy. You know what I mean? I kind of keep a smile on my face, try to keep everybody else smiling. So not a lot of people have that mentality. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like nothing that I do. I don't feel like nothing somebody else do can change what I do or what I've done. You know what I mean? Everything I've done, I put it on me. I don't put it on nobody else. You know what I mean? Everything that I've done, everything I went through was because of me. You know what I mean? So, and because of the choice that I made. So once I realized that, man, that everything else opened up. You know what I mean? I understood life. You know what I mean? I feel like I understood it to the utmost fullest that I got to get to it. You know what I mean? Because everybody has a life to live, and we only got one. You know what I mean? We don't got nine
Yeah.
lives. You know, we only got one. So we gotta live it to the fullest, man. So lately, I've been trying to live life. You know, trying to do stuff, man. I'm
Yeah.
trying to travel. Hey, the other day I went and rode them scooters downtown, just living. You know, feeling free. You know what I mean? Just flying down the streets, like man. I almost took that kind of stuff for granted back in the day. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. And Tyler, how was that for you? Was it hard at first? Did you just want to go and spend it, or what have you been thinking?
Honestly, it's always been hard for me to save money because when I get money, I know I have it. So I see something I want, and I'm like, ooh, I want this. Ooh, I want that. Let me get it all today, right now. But now I'm learning that I should save my money so that I can invest in making my business better, making my family better, making my life better, and saving my money and making sure that I spend it on the right thing.
Yeah, because listen, there are a lot of adults that don't have that lesson.
Oh yeah.
So you're learning you are learning things now that some of us wish we knew when we were 10 years old. Because I know people who are my age and older who get money and it's gone and they don't know where it even went. So that is really good. Your parents are really setting you up to be by the time you're like 16, it's going to be ridiculous. Like,
Absolutely.
you're going to have people working for you.
Mm-hmm. That's
For
the
sure.
plan.
Yes.
Retire her mother.
Yes, you will retire your mother. And then one last question for you, De'Ara. If you could just give some inspiration to other mothers, like you said before, you know, you have to make time. And that sounds good, but sometimes it gets exhausting. So what
It's
can
overwhelming.
you do?
It's past
Yeah.
exhausting. It's overwhelming. But at the same time, these are our babies, and we brought them here. We were blessed to have them. Let's push them. Let's love on them. Let's encourage them. Let's inspire them. No matter how hard it is, you know, sometimes we don't have another piece of energy in us, but that last little bit that we have left, let's give it to them and create a positive atmosphere for them so that, you know, they can grow and be inspirational to people behind them. You know, if we instill in them love and we give them the foundation that they need, they will be great. These children are amazing that we have. And as long as they have the right encouragement and they feel that love, it's nothing they can't do. You know, these Black babies are very smart. They are superb. They're talented. But if they don't have the love and encouragement that they need, that dream can fail. So let's just keep pushing them as hard as it is. Just don't give up. Just pray. just pray for God to give you the energy that you need so that you can push your kids to where they need to be.
Thank you so much. That was really good. Tyler, I just have like one or two more questions for you. If you could please just give some inspiration to the young people who are watching this right now to encourage them to follow their dreams.
So you just have to make sure that you keep trying and make sure that you're doing what you want to do. And when you figure out what you want to do, keep pushing yourself. Keep saying, I'm going to make it there one day. I'm going to be big. I'm going to be like, let's say, I'm going to be big like Pink. I'm going to be big like Victoria's Secret. I'm going to be big like all these other big brands that I'd like to see. So once you keep trying, you get up there, you're going to see, I see all the stuff that I was learned when I was younger, and now I see that it all led up to something good, and it all came up to a good ending at the end.
To give you a little bit of background into why it's ingrained in me to never give up. When I was born, for the first 2 years of my life, and this is kind of a truth bomb I'm sure you're not gonna expect, I couldn't hear or talk. So
Wow.
yeah, obviously I'm talking and speaking, so that clearly didn't last long. But it really just started from the day I was pretty much born. I was different than anybody else. My family tends to call me a miracle child because I ended up learning how to talk and speak and everything. But my whole life growing up, I've faced obstacles. Because of my health deficiencies when I was born, it took me a lot longer to learn things. Like people learn how to tie their shoes at like 5. I learned at like 8. Like I had to overcome so many obstacles because of the fact of how I was born and everything. The doctors even told my parents, like, look, she's gonna be retarded and everything. So, like, that's not something you want to tell a parent or anything. But I proved everybody pretty much wrong. I worked hard my whole entire life, tried to prove to everybody that, hey, I am smart. I'm just as good as anybody else. So I graduated from high school with a 3.0 GPA. Got like 2 or 3 scholarships, and I've pretty much been different since the day I was born. So it's not in me to give up. I mean, God gave my life purpose, and it I'm like getting choked up here because I have gone through a lot and it's just not in me to give up.
So I loved watching those clips. Those clips were truly, I mean, it's been, again, like I said, I have even gotten emotional looking back on some of these clips and looking back on just the people who have shared. And there were so many good moments that I had trouble even pulling out certain clips because I just wanted to play all the episodes on loop because it was so good. And so if you were just now tuning in, this is Unmute Your Mic's 1 year anniversary episode. I am your host, Jessica Bell. If this is your first time tuning in, this is great for you because you get to see all of the clips and all of the things that we've talked about over the last year. And if you're returning, as always, I just want to say thank you. So this next segment I want to go into is what I entitled God Moments. So these were really moments in my show where I felt like it was just that divine thing where God was speaking and it was something that people needed to hear. And I've had that moment in a lot of my episodes, even the episodes I've had with people who are not Christians or believers. But I picked out 4 because these were 4 moments that really stood out to me when I was doing this show. And so those people were Steve Holder, Carol Copeland, Marty Ray, and Ashley Ballard. The great thing about this group of people is that I didn't know all of them. So Ashley is a close friend of mine, but Steve, Carol, and Marty were all people who I've met networking when I started my podcast, and they all truly changed my perspective on even podcasting and what Unmute Your Mic was going to be. So please take a look at these 4 episodes. Well, when you talked about you kind of realized everything was essentially crumbling, what was the turnaround point for you to where you said, okay, I realize what's happening? What steps did you take to start putting everything back in order?
Well, great question. And this is how the answer goes. You never figure things out on top of the mountain. You're always in the ditch. And I was raised right. I had good parents, but I made mistakes. And so I had a rough first marriage. But it was a night where I sat on the floor of my oldest daughter's bedroom in the middle of the night with all of my kids under my arms, like a hen under the hen's wings. And I say hen because you never hear roosters doing that, but I guess that could be an analogy. But I got my kids around me, and we're figuring things out, and we're praying because my kids had heard a lot of arguments between me and their mother, but they never heard one like this. And it was ugly. There was shouting, there was screaming, there was cursing, there were things that no children should hear. And then it got physical, and it was ugly. And she left, and I didn't know whether she would go get a gun and kill me. I didn't know if she would go kill herself. I didn't know if the police were coming. I literally didn't know where I would. I just knew I was there. And for the first time that night, when I had that come to Jesus moment, when I realized everything I've worked for may be taken from me tonight. I don't know if I'm going to see my kids again. I don't know if I'm going to live. I don't know if I'm going to prison. I don't know what's getting ready to happen. I just know for the first time I'm present, and these kids mean more to me than all of the fame and fortune I was chasing. It was in that moment I knew that I was living a lot of other people's dreams for my life and the thought they were my own. And I think there's other men that'll do that. So nobody knew I was struggling, because I'm a man, and every man grew up watching movies like Lone Wolf McQuade and Chuck Norris. So worse than women thinking they can do it all is men think they can do it all. You can do anything you want to by yourself, but why would you want to? Man was not made to be alone. And by man, I mean mankind, but it started with a man. Man was made alone so he could recognize that he was an anomaly, that all the animals had mates and he didn't. And then a mate was created for him. And so we were meant to be paired up and be on the same team and not be enemies.
When you're going through something, you have to evaluate every area of your
life. You have to guard your heart, guard your eye gate, guard your ears, guard it all, and guard your heart, because that's where the issues of life, out of your heart flows the issues of life. And you really want to guard those places. Don't let things get to your heart. Don't let it in. If you can at all, because right now, if you're depressed or you have lost a loved one, you are not your normal self, and you are not as strong as you once were or will be. So it's very careful. You're in a sensitive state. And so what you have to do is draw extremely close to God, and he will deliver you. Ask him to deliver you from the spirit of depression, and he will do so. And don't look back, and just remember to praise. Praise is so extremely important. And it's just, I just don't know what I would do if it was not for God. I mean, I don't know where I would be. I believe I would be dead. I believe that I would have ended it all many years ago when the devil told me that it wasn't worth it, and things of that nature. But I'm so grateful to God that I held on. And that's it. You're right. That's exactly what I did. I held on. I got a word from God, and I said, okay, I'll go a little further. I got another word from God. Okay, God, I'll go a little further. I'm going to see if what you're saying to me comes to pass. And sometimes people are looking to prove God that, okay, is he real? They want to know, are you real? And so even if that's you, that's okay. God understands. Try him.
Yeah.
Try him and see. I'm not telling you something I heard. I'm not telling you something I overheard. I'm telling you what I know because of what God has done in my life. He has completely changed my life. And it's only because I stayed the course. I wasn't the strongest or fastest person, and I'm still not, but I'm on the course of loving God and seeing who He wants me to be and blessing as many people along the way that I can with my testimony. And no matter what I face, because just because I made it through depression doesn't mean the enemy was done. No, no, he wasn't done.
Mm.
He tried to come back and plant cancer and different things, divorce, whatever. But you know what? I already know what I did is said, God brought me out of that when I was depressed. He's going to bring me out of this.
I wanted to know what you do to not lose hope that those things are coming. Because I think sometimes people are afraid to be complacent or content with where they're at, because it's almost like God's going to forget what you prayed for. And He's going to be like, oh, she doesn't want a husband anymore. She's fine single. So what is it that you do, something that you pray, things that you read that kind of keep you with that hope to move forward, but being content with where you're at?
Yeah, because I was going to say, I know that contentment and complacency, they're two different things. So complacency is where you feel like, this is it. Contentment is just being at peace and being thankful, for where the Father has you. So I will say that I have had times where I'm like, no, maybe it was a form of losing hope. I called it, I was just about to be that bad to the bone, single auntie, taking care of my nieces and nephews, like living the life, just let me buy these new pumps, get my, cute car and that. But what I do in everything is because I sit with God, I think that we miss and we think that He's not talking because we don't sit with Him. And because I sit with God, I'm able to take the words that He speaks directly to my heart. I journal a lot. So there will be times if I begin to wrestle with hope deferred, then I have to go to my journals. I have to go back to the things that God spoke to me, because in my flesh, see, people think, at least for me, that marriage is something that I just want. Like, I am not that single girl that is like, crying, looking, wanting a man. It's like, no, a lot of my saying that I want to be married or I know I'm going to be married is because I know God called me to it. And I say the difference between a calling and just this like burning desire, or, because you want to have sex or, something. And so because I sit with God, there are times where more than anything, it's not that I lose hope. I just kind of get fed up. Like, what am I doing? I don't enjoy dating, that's a whole nother conversation we can have.
Right.
But knowing that because I'm supposed to remain open to whoever this man is that God has for me, that I have to like go on dates or, be willing to engage in conversations that I just don't really like. So more than anything, it's holding on to that word, that seed that God planted, knowing that this is something that is going to happen. It's a part of my life. It's a part of my future, my calling, my purpose. And so when it seems like it's not going to happen, more so not getting that attitude like, oh, well, I'm not going to worry about it at all. I can do life without whoever he is. Remembering what God spoke, remembering what He told me, remembering those seasons where it was like actually prophesied through someone else. And then also when He just spoke it directly to me. I don't know if you have a question, but if I could say just, one more thing about sitting with God.
Of course, yeah.
I believe that, these delays, my grandmother always said delays are the servants of God's perfect timing. And when you really see a delay as a servant of God's perfect timing, it's like, that means that there will be a delay, but it's divine. It's divinely appointed. God's not allowing this delay to happen and to keep you as a hindrance, but it's an appointment. It's helping you still keep on track with God's timing.
And this last question I have to ask, it's so I know that you're a believer, and I love that. And what is it like being a believer and keeping your faith while being in the music industry?
Well, I'm at an advantage point because I'm not really in the music industry. So they don't tell me what to do. That's why I don't sign record deals. I don't want a be with a record label because I have certain morals. It was like I met with some labels back in the day, and some of the things that they want you to do, they want you to tour. They want you to tour 200 dates a year or whatever, and that means you have to make a decision. Do you love music more than your family? See, I have 2 daughters and a wife. I'm not gonna. They're more important than music, right? So if God wants me to do music, He'll make a way for me to do it without having to forget about them, without having to betray them, without having to be away from them. So, and He has, and that's exactly what has happened and continues to happen. But I understand that in the music industry, they're immediately asked to bend their morals, and then they're told like, well, you can say a lot of times it's like it is this way. They'll say you can say God because God is universal and things like that, but don't say Jesus. But that's why I just really try to say Jesus bless you instead of God bless you to a lot of people, just so they know that I am on Jesus' team, and they're never going to change that. And someday they're going to even bow their knees whether they want to or not. So, you know, and I could go off and start preaching, but that ain't what this is about. We're trying to help people in their business, or I forget, unmute your mind. I think this is about business. This is about business.
Well, unmute your mind. It's just about telling your story in general. So it's not just
well,
business.
let me start preaching then. Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
No, but the point is, like, I never did get into music with the intent that I would ever. I think that's why it's so perfectly God's plan is so perfect. It was so perfectly delayed to where I was able to be more mature. I already had a family. I already had a wife. I was already married when I first made something, whatever it is that I might have made. Whenever I did what I've done, it was whenever God put me where He's put me now, I was already mature enough to know that there's certain decisions that they won't make, that I won't make for their sake. Meaning if a record label comes to me at 18 years old, when I was all pretty and sexy and I looked good, and I might have made a decision that might not been good for me, might have led me to a horrible path. So God delayed it. He delayed it by my family and them not really pushing. I think sometimes people say, man, I never had anybody pushing me. And then but you should think back and go, well, maybe they weren't supposed to. Because if they pushed you, maybe they was pushing you off an edge. Maybe they were going to push you somewhere you weren't supposed to be. You were held back on purpose, because those that trust in the Lord, right, they receive all the promises. He is not slack concerning His promise. So, and he wasn't in me.
So I think the beautiful thing about these God moments is that they're not orchestrated, and that they literally are just coming from us having conversation and us digging deep and us peeling back the layers to figure out what is, in our story and how we've decided to move forward. And so that's why these 4 people inspired me so much, is because they were all talking about topics, some serious and some not, but they were all really reflecting on what God did for them. And so in my personal life, and this is just my little soapbox moment, in my personal life, I've had to look back many times and see that God was present even when I didn't feel like He was. And so that is what is truly inspiring me about Unmute Your Mic, is really looking back even on this last year and seeing that there were many difficult moments. Sometimes it's hard to even record an episode because I'm like, I have real life going on. And I think that's what's so beautiful. As much as I thought Unmute Your Mic was going to be for other people, it truly has been for me. It truly has given me those moments where I've had to get up and I've felt like counseling or not recording. And then I had a conversation with somebody, and that person in that conversation ministered to me. And that person was what I needed in that moment. And so I think it is the true and the beautiful example of God using people. And you never know the connections and the lifelong connections that are going to be made. And so that is truly one of my biggest pieces of gratefulness regarding this podcast, and why I'm so excited to see what year 2 has, because each conversation has been divine. It has been intentional. And so it has truly just been an exciting walk for me. But speaking of that, this walk has not been alone. So when I originally decided to start my podcast, I had reached out to a couple of people and just really was like kind of tossing the idea out. I made like some janky flyer and I sent it to a couple people and was like, "Hey, what do you think? What does this look like?" And I had people who were coming along and saying, "Well, yeah, this is good," or "What does this sound like?" and "Well, how would this look?" And I had the first lady at my church, she helped me design my second flyer to so that it was way more visually appealing. And even all as those things have evolved and gotten better over time, I'm so appreciative of the people who came in at the ground level and was like, "Yeah, you can't do it like this. It's got to have some bit of professionalism to it," because I just kind of wanted to do my own thing. But behind the scenes, I have my dad, who is my co-producer, and my boyfriend, who is my editor. And so these are not people who I asked to do these things. They kind of stepped in and saw the need and saw that it was like, "Hey, you should probably have an open. Hey, you might need to edit this. You can't just record on your phone and hit live." And so it's been very important to me, um, that I always pay honor to the people who are working behind the scenes, who may not get on the mic and interview somebody every week, but they're playing a vital role in the running of this production. And so I want to thank my dad, Edward Bell, thank my boyfriend, Austin Terry, for really just being there and helping when I need it. And even when I don't need help, always knowing that they're there if and when I need it. And it has been a great support system. I want you guys to check out on Unmute Your Rec website, go to their bio, learn a little bit more about them, because they're really some of the wheels that are helping keep this show in motion. So I do not want to end this episode. It has been truly fun for me to go back and reflect, and I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. But again, I just wanted to say thank you for every person who has come on this journey with me. Every person who has tuned in, who has shared, commented, liked, purchased merchandise, subscribed to my website. I want to say thank you. I'm very excited for what Unmute Your Mic is going to do. I already have some very amazing and special guests lined up. But I just want to make sure that I continue to do what it is that God has called me to do with this platform. And so that is just my word of encouragement for all of you. If there is something that is on your heart, if God is calling you to do something, if you are afraid or hesitant, remember that you don't have to have everything together before you go. When I started this podcast, I did not have anything but my cell phone and an idea from God. And along the way, I have really been able to evolve. And though I'm not anywhere where I would like to be, it is so humbling to look back and see what just started as an idea has really turned into a true community. I have gained relationships with people who I will probably talk to for the rest of my life. And that is amazing to me, because I know that I needed these people in my life. I needed this community. I needed a space to be able to share and be transparent. And, I had somebody share with me that they thought you have to be careful with being too open and too transparent. And though I understand that, for me, this is how I walk through things. This is how I am really able to share about how good God has been to me and how amazing it can be when you surround yourself with people who are willing to be open and transparent and talk about some of their struggles, so that other people who are out here who may not ever get on this platform or a platform, maybe not even believers, can listen to these stories and be inspired and know that you can be like Nova, who I had on my show, who was homeless, and she was telling her story about being homeless. Or like Natalie, who I had, who was talking about, her child having FASD and how her family has had to readjust. Or like people who I've had on my show who talked about going through adoption. Or like DJ, one of my closest friends who I had, who was talking about living like the street life and how he's had to reform himself. There's just so many examples and so many people I've had on my show who have shared things that we all deal with on our everyday basis. So I just want to say thank you. I want to remind you, I want to encourage you that things will get better if it's not good, and you can make it. If you are interested in sharing your story on this platform, you can go to our website, unmuteyourmic.org, scroll down to the bottom, and it says if you are interested in sharing your story, and fill out your information there. You can also send me a message wherever you're watching this. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, send me a message. Let's talk. I would love to have you share your story on my platform. Please, please, please make sure that you subscribe on YouTube. Most of my audience is on Facebook and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and I love that. But please go subscribe to YouTube as well. And I just want to thank you all again. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Thank you for being a part of my story and this current chapter of my life. As always, you have watched another episode of Unmute Your Mic. Continue to be bold, be heard, and tell your story.
Thank you for tuning in to Unmute Your Mic. Be sure to tune in next time when Jessica takes her mic off mute as she continues her journey to find stories that inspire and uplift our communities.